Hello there, I'm John Facenda.
Welcome back to Out of the Vault. We're reliving an early episode of 10 Around Town, Channel 10's popular lifestyle show from the 80s. Here's Sherry Bank.
Annie. In many ways, it is the all-American musical, an enormously successful play based on the adventures of that ultimate all-American girl, Little Orphan Annie. From the moment it opened on Broadway, Annie was a smash success. And the child who captured the hearts of America's theatergoers in that role was Philadelphia's own Andrea McArdle. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely. Today, at 16, Andrea is hardly a child anymore. But tomorrow, the theme song from Annie is still her trademark, and she remembers her Broadway success fondly. It'll come out tomorrow.
When I started Annie, I was never nervous. I had so much fun, and I had so much to do, and I was getting so much attention, and it was great. I loved that. Now they're like, I guess when you mature, you think a lot more about, what you're doing, and you say, there's a lot of people out here. And before, I just did what I was told to do, and I loved it. And I still love it, but I take notice to it more.
Andrea McArdle was born in 1963 and grew up with her younger brother Mike in Northeast Philadelphia. She began ballet lessons before kindergarten, and by the tender age of 8, she was cast in her first play, a dinner theater production of The King and I. Quite by chance, she was spotted by an agent who felt she'd be good for television commercials. After more than 30 commercials and a starring role in the soap opera Search for Tomorrow, Andrea landed the part that made her famous, Little Orphan Annie. In New York, Annie ran to rave reviews and sellout audiences for months. And Andrea, at 14, became the youngest actress ever to be nominated for a Tony Award in a starring role on Broadway. The play itself won no less than 7 Tony Awards, including Best Musical. Then it was off to London's Victoria Palace Theatre and more raves. Andrea was the center of attention, from the Queen of England to Ethel Merman to John Travolta to Muhammad Ali. She did talk shows, played Judy Garland in a telemovie, and toured as a vocalist with Liberace. And just last summer, she sang the Star-Spangled Banner at the Democratic National Convention. But all along, fans and journalists alike wondered what effect success might have on the quiet little girl from Philadelphia. They said Andrea, like Judy Garland, might have her childhood ruined by fame. But she says it hasn't hurt her one bit.
It hasn't ruined anything. It's made everything better for me, I think. Well, I know. And I couldn't predict what it will do to me in the future. I hope for the best, but I can't say.
Child star. It conjures up images of Judy Garland. That's the class, I guess, the first thing that's the stereotype that pops right into view. I know when she first started into it, I had these same misgivings about getting into this type of business, because there's so much rejection, there's so many barracuda, and a general distrust for the thing, because we really didn't know anything about it.
Despite Andrea's success, her parents, Paul and Phyllis McArdle, still try to maintain as normal a family life as possible for Andrea and her younger brother, Mike. They seize every opportunity for meals, travel, and recreation together. But it's not easy with Andrea on the road so often and so much work to be done.
It requires a lot of sacrifice. People think you were born a child star. It just doesn't happen that way. It's a lot of sacrifice on the whole family. So that nothing came easy. She earned everything she got, certainly. And most people don't realize that.
For Andrea, part of the hard work of being a performer involved dance lessons with teacher Fred Connect.
many singers, and I think probably Andrea's been guilty of this, just standing at the mic and never moving one foot in front of the other. And that's exactly what we're doing, just getting her to move and to become a more rounded performer. She's a hard worker, good student, no problems at all. She's a fine, beautiful 16-year-old who's not the least bit affected by all the success that she's had.
Back when these scenes were filmed 3 years ago, during those first days of Annie's success, big, bad, blasé New York had already fallen in love with Andrea McArdle. She was, without a doubt, the most talked-about 13-year-old on Broadway. But even then, Andrea offstage seemed like just another kid.
Tuesday the 24th or Tuesday the 31st.
From the start, Andrea's mother, Phyllis, handled many of the arrangements for her daughter's career, but she felt she was falsely labeled as the quintessential pushy stage mother, an image she deeply resented. She believed a normal home life was essential, including those typical loud teenage parties. Today, Phyllis still throws those same parties for the same teenagers. And although a lot of publicity and acclaim have come Andrea's way these last 3 years, she still lives in that small twin home on Diston Street in the Northeast and says she hasn't changed much at all.
I still live in my hometown, and I go to regular high school, and I have good times. And I don't think I grew up too fast, but I'd say I grew up faster than I would have. Because you mature quicker in this business because you're around adults more, and you, not that pressure's put on you, well, it is, but you learn to handle it quicker.
Handling pressure and being surrounded by adults are things Andrea faces all the time while she's performing. When she's home, she spends as much time as she can relaxing with her teenage friends. But for all her attempts to have a private life of her own, Andrea is in the public eye, and her parents know better than anyone else just how rare privacy can be.
Some of the people don't really believe that you're a private person. They think you're an entertainer 24 hours a day, and silly things like, how about singing for us? And if you don't, then
Oh,
what
in
do you mean
department
you're not
stores.
going to sing?
Like we'll go into a department store. Oh, can you sing tomorrow for us? Right in the middle of a department store. You know, they think because you're on stage and you can perform that you're going to be a performer all day long, like you said. I mean, many people get very angry. They expect Andrea to jump up in their lap and kiss them and say, oh, hi, how are you? You know, they don't realize that she's really a private person in her own way, and she runs her own life.
And after seeing this, you can understand people behaving like Frank Sinatra toward the press and whatnot, because they just intrude and they just will not let you have any private life.
As for her future, Andrea says she'd like to record a rock and roll album and continue doing television as well as acting in films and on the stage. But she's not a child anymore, and the offers just aren't flooding in the way they used to.
You know, one thing they always say is, well, how come she's not doing more? It's because everything offered to her is really, you know, R-rated, and she's not ready for that. I hope she's never ready for it. But she's just not that type child that could really do it. She wouldn't be comfortable and never will be. And you do have to turn down, really, 90% of the work.
I wouldn't do any nudity, and I wouldn't play a prostitute because I would be just too embarrassed to do that. I guess I'm not a good enough actress to take myself out of the role and put someone else in my mind in there.
I do watch lots of news, actually. Well, my dad always has the news on.